Welcome to the Housing Market Podcast. Today we have Michael Hellickson on from Club Wealth, and we had him on several weeks ago. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to share the highlighted clips from that conversation. Here's my hope is that you can listen to that. You can listen to what Michael is doing, coaching agents in the market today, and take some action plans away from it. So let's hop right in. Let's talk about some of the chaos that's out there. And I think it would be, there's so much out in the world on the NAR settlement. Let's not go into what it's going to mean. But what mindset-wise would you say to agents that are listening right now about where we sit and not sort of getting distracted?
So I love that you phrased it that way and framed it in that way. What I would have everybody write down is control the controllables. Control the controllables, and don't worry about anything else. If you can't control it, it's not worth spending any time on mentally. And so just move past it. And you don't control what happens in these lawsuits. We don't control what happens in the market. We don't control what happens in the White House. We don't control what happens with interest rates. What we can control is our daily habits, and our habits will define us. Our habits will dictate our outcomes. And so what we've got to do is we got to control the controllables. And that is, what do I do every day? What do I do when I get up? What time do I get up? Where do I go? What do I do when I get up? Where do I go? Do I go to the office? Do I make calls every day? How often do I make calls? Man, this is a great time to be a real estate agent. I can't think of a better time. My son is a decade ahead of my career right now. Why? Because he's only focused on the things that need to be focused on. And the timing couldn't be better. Agents are getting out of this business. Watch this. The National Association of Realtors last year reported that only 2.1% of the agents got out of the business, that there was a 2.1% drop in agents. The reality is that there's a ton of agents out there that we're not accounting for that are driving Uber now, that are doing some of their side gig now. They're focused on some of their career, and real estate's their side hustle now. Well, guess what? A lot of those are going to go away this year. All the while, interest rates are still nice and low. And I know people don't think that, but I got news for you. 7 to 8%, that's low, man. That's not bad. And so interest rates are fairly affordable. The market has just started to pick up like crazy right now. And man, there's fewer agents to handle it than there were a year ago. What a great time to be in this business.
Yeah. I think, and I'm interested in your perspective on this, I think change in the business bodes well for the professional agent.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, let's go back to 2007 to 2011.
Okay.
Right? You're familiar with that time. It's the Great Recession, right? So in 2006, I was doing 400 or 500 transactions a year. Pretty respectable, but not amazing, right? 2007 hits. Washington Mutual goes out of business. All of a sudden, the market implodes. Money shuts off. Everything's going crazy. Guess what happened? Everybody freaks out. Everybody freaks out, and they're starting to run for the hills. And what do I do? Blah, 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 blah. Man, my business went from 400 or 500 deals a year to 120, 180 transactions a month, almost overnight. Because what I do, I dove in and write this down. Everybody should write this down. Where there's chaos, there's opportunity. And what happened in COVID? COVID hit. People started freaking out. I got a call from one of my agents in New York. His name's Paul Perone. Great guy. And New York is one of the states that shut off the worst. I mean, it was one of the most difficult states in the country to do business in during the pandemic. Well, guess what? My clients, our message to our clients was wait about 20 days. And what you're going to see is Zillow, Realtor.com, all the lead sources, they're going to start dropping prices because agents are going to bail on their lead sources like crazy. So guess what my agents were doing? We were buying lead sources like crazy, and we were finding ways, be it Zoom or whatever, we were finding ways to meet with clients in spite of all the restrictions that were in place. All the while, we're buying up all the lead sources. My guys were getting Realtor and Zillow. They were getting those at 80% off in a lot of the zip codes they were buying in. And other lead sources were massively discounted. So they gathered up all these lead sources at massive discounts when everybody else was shedding lead sources. And guess what happened to their ROI? Went through the roof. Their profitability went through the roof. And that's what you've got to look at right now is this is that time frame right now where you can gain massive market share, and top teams are doing that.
Yeah, no, I hear you in that. I love your passion in it. Here's the question. So I know you mentioned it a minute ago, controlling what you can control, having a daily schedule. Let's sort of break that down for me. Like right now, an agent in the business, what does a daily schedule look like?
I'll tell you right now, We have something called the perfect daily schedule. When you're in that office, you need the first 30 minutes, you got to get your head straight. And that means being on a daily huddle. If you're on a team, and by the way, if you're not on a team or building a team, you probably ought to be. Teams are taking over the country. I've been shouting this for 20 years, and only in the last 10 years has it really taken off. And I got to tell you, teams in 2022, 51% of every transaction closed involved one of the top 10% of teams. Last year, there were 38 teams that broke the 1,000 transaction mark and over 68 teams that broke the 600 transaction mark.
How does, I want to interrupt you for a second. Yeah. How does somebody in the first 30 minutes of their day, because I couldn't agree more, get their head right?
That's where you want to make sure in that 30 minutes, you're going to do a huddle with your team if you're on a team. If you're not on a team, then if you're coaching with us, we have a daily huddle for our solo agents. And if you're not coaching with and you're not on a team, then you need to find a group of people that you every single day are going to huddle up with. You're going to share exactly what your numbers were the day before. Hey, this is how many calls I made, how many contacts, how many appointments I set. This is what I did. And this is what I'm committing to do today. And then you got to have a little bit of education and a little bit of motivation in there in this conversation with other agents who are desiring to accomplish great things in real estate and who are willing to put the effort in to do it. Not the people that are coming in saying, oh, buyers are liars and sellers are worse. Ignore those people. Stay away from those people. And so that first 30 minutes, I want you to gather with other people who are heading the same direction you are. Then the next
and there's, I want to say something. There's accountability in that.
Yes.
What you're saying. Ultimately, there's accountability.
What's the number one problem in our country right now? Lack of accountability. You want to look at the breakdown of America, it's lack of accountability. And at the end of the day, you want to look at the breakdown of most people's businesses and why so many people are struggling to make money in this industry, where others are just crushing it right now. It's the absence of accountability. If you put that accountability in place on a daily basis and you submit yourself to accountability, guess what will happen? Your production will go through the roof.
I want to say something about that because this is a huge topic on the way to start your day. And even people listening thinking, okay, I want to be accountable, or I've heard of that. The other trick is that I've learned in life, you can only be held accountable if you want to be held accountable.
That's right.
That's the only way. And there's no better way to live in your business and your life or whatever to have a strong accountability system. So start the day, you're accountable, you're going over what it is. What comes after that?
It's very simple. There's only 3 things you need to do the next 4 hours of your day. So really, when I say this, I'm not kidding. From 8 o'clock till noon, there's only 3 things you do. It's lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. That's it. Okay. In other words, shut off your notifications on your phone and on your computer. You don't take any inbound phone calls. You're not looking at Facebook. You're doing nothing but absolutely making phone calls for lead generation, lead follow-up, lead conversion for those first 4 hours every day. I don't even care what you do the rest of the day. Go home for all I care. I don't care what you do the rest of the day. If you nail those first 4 hours, you're going to crush this, but you've got to nail those first 4 hours. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but I don't want to make calls. Listen, let me start with this. If you're in tier 1, which is 0 to 25 transactions a year, you've got more time than money. If I'm in tier 4 or 5, let's say I'm in tier 5, I'm doing 250 to 500 transactions a year. I'm not making FSBO and expired calls. I got other people doing that, right? So it's a different world. But if you're trying to get from tier 1 or tier 2 into these upper tiers where you're not having to do those things, you're going to have to put the work in. And it's a grind in the beginning. It just is. And so what do you need to do? You need to be religious about this every single day. And when you do that, you will get better and better and better. Your skill set will improve. You'll convert at a higher rate. You'll set more appointments. And here's the number. Here's the KPI you need to follow for those first 4 hours. You need to schedule 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week with someone you had not yet met that's interested in buying or selling a home. That's it. If you'll do that, you'll get 60% of the people will show up. You'll have a 40% no-show rate. That's okay. It's okay that people no-show, and I'll teach you, how to get them to show up.
That's a fact of the matter.
Yeah, and it's okay, right? That's just people. Don't be angry because people are people. Just understand the numbers and understand that a certain number of people will show up.
I think too, it's understanding what the job is. Because that's the difference between saying, well, I tried to reach out to 10 people, right? Versus I contacted 10 people or whatever the case is. What's the best script that you see working right now in getting people on the phone?
Well, the first and foremost, it's dialing the phone, right? You just got to pick up the phone. You just got to do it.
Sure.
And so you're going to call, if I'm in tier one and I, this changes as you move up through the tiers. Everything changes as you move up the tiers. It gets easier and easier as you move up through the tiers. But in tier one, when I'm brand new and I'm doing fewer than 25 transactions a year, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call fizzless, expireds, cold calls. I'm going to do my sphere of influence. And then I'm also going to do open houses. Those are the 5 key things that you do as a new agent. And everybody thinks I'm going to get on social media and that's going to make me all this money. That's not reality for most people. It's an important component and it really helps with your sphere and it helps you go deeper. But the scripting for the first calls that you're going to make, let's talk about not necessarily an initial call to a fizzle or expired or whatever. Let's talk about the follow-up script because follow-up is actually the biggest key to this. The initial lead call, that's this much of it. People don't usually have a lead generation problem. They have a lead follow-up problem. And so with the lead follow-up calls, there's a very simple script. Write this down word for word and just use this. It's very simple. Never call them up and say, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to sell yet? Bad script. Don't do that. Simply call them up and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. We want them to know, hey, look, I actually care about you and I want to help you. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on mine. And their response is almost always the same. They'll almost always say, oh, no, it's not you, it's us. We've just been busy. And so what happens is you've invoked the law of reciprocity because you came at them with, I want to help you, not with, I want you to do something that pays me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So from a follow-up standpoint, that's going to be mission critical. There's this fallacy out there, David, that people say that people have to know, like, and trust you to do business with you. That's not true. They don't have to like you. They just have to trust you. And they're never going to trust you if all you'd have is your best interest at heart. They're going to trust you when you have their best interest at heart. And so we have to convey that, right? And so go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, so you invoke the law of reciprocity, like you said, you've got somebody there. What are you seeing right now relative to people that, okay, I'm engaged with this person because you said the second piece is conversion, but they're on the fence. They're sort of like, yeah, maybe, sort of, maybe, kind of, whatever. We might think about buying, we might think about selling, but there's a lot of people that are in the middle there right now.
So there's actually 3 stages in making a buying or selling decision, right? You start off as aspirational, then you transition to informational, and then you're transactional, right? Those are the 3 stages. And so you've got to understand where your prospect is. Because if I treat an aspirational, what is aspirational? Aspirational is I saw a thing on Facebook and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be nice if, I bought a house like that or whatever. That's aspirational. Informational is, hey, I'm going out, I'm looking at listings online, I'm Googling, best, listings in my area, that sort of thing. Transactional is I'm out looking at houses, I'm making offers, that kind of thing. But if I treat somebody that's aspirational, like they're transactional, what's going to happen to them? They're going to run the other way. They're not going to want to do business with you. I'm going to scare them away. If I treat somebody who's transactional like they're aspirational, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go find somebody that's going to be more aggressive and it's going to get the job done. So I have to understand where my client or my prospect is in the process first. And second, we have, to your question, David, what you have to ask yourself is it my job or should I even be attempting to get them off the fence? And the answer is no, because you're pushing, now you're chasing business. We need to be attracting business, not chasing business. And if I'm trying to get somebody off the fence, I'm chasing business. Don't chase business, right? Yeah. Like, meet people where they're at. And if they're not ready today, they're not ready today. That's okay. Build that relationship on trust, be their advisor, and be there when they are ready. And so our jobs as real estate agents is not to convince someone to do business. Our job is to be there when they're ready to do business and be the resource that they trust when that time comes. If we can do that instead of trying to cram them or force feed them with our version of what needs to happen right now, they will naturally want to do business with us. We'll have a much better relationship with them. And guess what that results in? They're going to be more likely to refer us because the experience was better for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. I think that idea of being there, and what we would say at KCM is be the educator, right? Help people. If you can educate them, they can make the decision on their own, right? I don't have to convince them to do anything.
That's right.
And so I agree 1,000%.
And
so keep
David,
going on this. So Go ahead.
Well, that's what I want to say. To your point, KCM, one of the great things about KCM is it's keeping you top of mind, top of consciousness. When they find that perfect house, you're the one they naturally call. Why? Because you've been in contact with valuable information, and it hasn't just been about, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, right? It's always about their needs. And it's cliche, but it's true, right? You help enough other people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want. You just can't force that timeline. They got to be able to
Right.
set their own timeline. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
love where you're going with that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this. Okay, we're in the 8 to 12 range. You're generating leads, your follow up on leads, and then you're closing leads. What's important about closing a lead right now?
Oh my gosh, this is so big. All right. So here's the problem with real estate agents. With real estate agents, you get a buyer on the phone, and the first thing you do before you go out and show anything, you want to make sure they get pre-approved or
Approved. Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can do. We call that the sales prevention team, and I'll tell you why. Because what you're doing is you're making them jump through your hoops before you'll let them do anything. We're giving people ultimatums all the time. That is not service. When you tell somebody you got to get pre-approved or you got to get pre-qualified before I'll even show you the house, that is not customer service. That's entitlement. And so here's the key. They got to experience or taste that product. How do they do that? You got to get face-to-face with them. Everybody sells better face-to-face than voice-to-voice. So your goal should be getting face-to-face with them as soon as humanly possible.
Talk about that for a minute. Because our world, let's be honest, is pushing against that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's serious. But conversion and connection and relationship happens face to face.
Absolutely. I'll give you a great example. Like you call our office up, right? With most people's chat bots, if you're on a website, you see the chat button on the website and you start text chatting with something or whatever. With ours, you click that chat bot, it pulls you into a meeting where you've got all of my team right there. You can see them face to face and you start to begin to develop a relationship because you're on video with them, talking with them live right now. Guys, it's all about that connection. It's all about that relationship. And so when we talk about this in terms of, how do I get them to meet with me that first time? This is mission critical. So I get a call. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule that appointment. First of all, if they ask me, hey, what's the price? Give them the price. Don't make them jump through hoops to get the price. Just give them the price. You'll be different than everybody else just by doing that. Actually, you'll be different by everybody else if you just answer the phone, right? That's a great first step. Now, that being said, our goal on every call should be, how do I get to an appointment? I want to schedule an appointment to get face-to-face. Now, a lot of agents are concerned because a lot of buyers, they don't want them to waste their time, right? Well, guys, here's the deal. If I go meet with somebody and they're not qualified, guess what? It's not a waste of my time because that person can actually refer me to other people. So at the very least, I've cultivated a referral source. Now, I'll give you a script that will get them to want to pre-qualify with your lender, but it has to be because they want to, not because you're forcing them to. That's the key difference.
Yep.
If it's and before I can show it to you, you got to get pre-qualified, you're pushing people away. If you use this script, you'll be attracting people. So here's the script. Write this down word for word. It's very simple. If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage, would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage, would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? And then here's what you do. You never use that script until first you have set the appointment. After you set the appointment, you use that script. And when they say yes, you're going to three-way call your lender in right now. You do that, and you not only have you done it in a way that makes them feel like they're in control, but you've also done it in a way that shows that you're there to serve them. And now you've got a very comfortable relationship happening. You've got them on the phone with your lender. And if your lender says, let's say you've got an appointment scheduled with them for Saturday, and today's Thursday. Your lender talks to them, they go to pre-qualify them, they find out this person doesn't qualify. That's going to happen a lot, right? Now what do? Do you keep the appointment on Saturday, or do you change it up? I'm going to suggest this. You want to keep the appointment, but you change up the location, and here's how you do it. So I'm going to say, David, hey, I just got a call from Madison. She said that you're not quite ready to pull the trigger on buying yet. You got some things you're going to be working on to get ready to buy. And so here's the options that we have. A couple options. We can meet at the house so that you can see what you'll be getting when the time comes, right? Or if you'd like, we can meet at my office and I can show you not only that house, I can show all the pictures of that house and all the information about that house. I can also show you all the other houses that are on market and even some that aren't, so that you have a really good picture of what's going on in the market. And I can set you up on a plan that will help you get there faster and probably save you some money in the process. And if you're going to have a 40% no-show rate, which is typical, would I rather have them no-show on me at my office or at the house? I'd way
Right.
rather have them
Right.
no-show me on the office, right? Because then I'm still just doing my work, right? And so it's not
Right.
interrupting my day at all. And so, by the way, there's another script, David, that I think
Yep.
would be fun to share. There's something we use called the Starbucks technique when it comes to
Okay.
getting more people to show up for our appointments. So on the way to the appointment, before you leave for the appointment, you call the prospect up and you say, "Hey, David, I was just getting ready to come out to the house to meet you. But before I do, I was going to be stopping at Starbucks. I just want to know, what's your favorite drink? I was going to grab you one since I'm grabbing myself something anyway." And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they don't want anything, right? They'll just say, "Oh, man, I really appreciate that. That's okay. No worries. I'll just see you at the house." Because what did you do? You just invoked the law of reciprocity. You did something nice for them. Now they feel obligated to do something nice for you, which is show up.
Show up.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
So
Thanks for sharing that. That's really good. That
there's
is
a lot
good.
to unpack there. But here's the reality. The big key here with all this, David, is we've got to
Yeah.
make sure that we are delivering value. Think about, do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary V wrote a great book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And
Right. Yeah, I'm
really the
familiar with it.
essence
Jab,
of the
jab,
book,
hook. Right.
that's right. And essentially what he's talking about is it's value, 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 then you go
Right.
for the clients, right?
Right.
A great formula to remember is, in fact, write this down, everybody. Give, ask, receive. Give, ask, receive. If you'll do it in that order, right? Give them value first, then ask for what you want. You'll probably receive it. You try and do it in any other order, it doesn't work.
That is really good. That is really good. I think that model of giving and saying, "Hey, I want to be a resource. I want to be the agent," is what we need more of. Just in what what you're saying. If somebody wants to get in touch with Club Wealth, wants to learn more about what you're doing, how do they do that?
I'll give you a couple options. First,
Okay.
Let me give you guys something. Let me just show you that I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is,
Okay.
right? That's
All
how
right.
I practice what I preach. Let me give you guys some value. So I know you guys all want lead sources. And I know that, everybody's thinking, "Oh, if I just had more and better lead sources, then I'd be able to make more money." Well, great. All right. Let me
Sure.
give you 31 of my favorite lead sources. All right. So send a text message to 727-287-5993. I want you to text the words Club Wealth to that number. I'll give it to you one more time. 727-287-5993. Just text the words Club Wealth to that number and it'll respond automatically. It'll send you 31 of my favorite lead sources. And that'll put you in our system and you can follow up with us from there. You can go to Facebook, follow us on Facebook, look up Club Wealth on Facebook. We have a Facebook group you can check out. Follow me. Or if you just want to get in touch with me and just say, "Hey, look, Michael, how do I learn more about you?" Besides going to our website, clubwealth.com, you can call 206-300-1000 and just say, "Hey, you know what? I'd like somebody to sit down with me and just walk me through what should I do in the next 12 months to really take my game to the next level." And what we'll do is I'll put you on the phone with one of our coaches and we'll do what we call a strategy session, which is where we literally build a roadmap for you that's specific to you. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do this for free with us once a year. We'll build a roadmap for you on what to do exactly in the next 12 months to take your game to the next level. And if all you did was just follow that, whether you ever buy anything from us or anything, if you just do what we tell you in that meeting, if you just follow that script, you'll have a great year. It'll make a world of
awesome.
difference. So,
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah. And thanks for making time to join us today and just, break down what's working right now. I'm grateful for it.
I appreciate you having me on. I really do. It's an honor to be on KCM. Man, this is a big deal. I mean, I don't know if people realize that, but KCM is a pretty big deal. You guys are a major player in the industry, and so I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we are grateful for that and grateful for your support of what we do. And at the end of the day, I tell people this all the time. In our office here, there's a wall that says we believe every family should feel confident when buying and selling a home, and that's what drives what we do. And so, thank you for that, and thank you for sharing what you shared today.
Appreciate it. Thanks, David.
All right. Hey, I want to say thanks to Michael for coming on and sharing everything that he's doing right now with agents across the country. I hope you took from that some action plans, some things that you can do in your business. The Housing Market Podcast is, really built to invite you into the conversations that we're having as Keeping Current Matters. I always say this, if you were here in our office in Richmond, Virginia, we believe every family should feel confident when buying and selling a home, and that's our job, is to be out there being the educator so folks feel confident.